The question is, why is it that over here it is actually the person looking for a job that has to pay the recruiter? And well, the other thing was, if it is the case that they are also not allowed to ask the worker for money in order to get a job, why is it not enforced then? Because it appears to me as a completely surreal situation that the one looking for the job is actually paying the recruiter, while the one looking for someone to do the job just has to sit and wait and not have to pay for anything, basically.
Amendments to the Immigration Act. One of the key things that the government implemented was that there should be no recruitment fees charged to the migrant workers, and that the employers need to pay the recruitment charges. However, when I was in Indonesia last year, and again this was follow-up research from when we first interviewed the Indonesian fishermen who'd worked in New Zealand, increasingly what I was being told was that, well, okay, New Zealand wages are now higher, so the recruitment fees are higher. But also what was happening was there was unauthorised brokers selling jobs in a New Zealand shrimp processing factory. Now, New Zealand doesn't have a shrimp processing factory. Or selling jobs for legitimate New Zealand companies, but the jobs weren't legitimate.
I mean, upside down, basically. While the one actually in the poorest, in the most vulnerable situation, is paying instead of the one at the other side.
Is wake up and smell the rotten fish, you know? Reality is really very different from what you find on paper and in ILO conventions and conference tables from what's happening on the ground. But the long response here is that it's true, you know, it should be the employer who should pay for everything because it's the employer who needs the workers. And that's provided for in international conventions. But it's also true that you find in many source countries workers who are desperate for work, desperate to find a job. And this is what is exploited by these scrupulous recruitment agencies who pit workers against other workers to find and for them to charge a fee. In the beginning, there were no such fees charged upon the workers. But as the competition grew among the workers, more and more workers now want to find jobs in these countries. Then they compete against each other, and this is taken advantage of by the recruitment agencies and by the brokers who charge both the employer and the worker. So they get a lot of money both ways. What has happened in the Philippines is that we have instituted laws prohibiting, because there used to be some kind of collusion between the broker and the recruitment and the employer and government officials. So we have instituted a law that says that no government official or no relative of a government official can ever operate or be involved in the workings of a private recruitment agency. So much so that it's up to the third degree of consanguinity. But still, you know, that's what's on paper. We don't know whether this is really followed by the recruitment agencies. In fact, the reports that we're getting is that the recruitment agencies still operate under the protection, supposedly, of government officials, because government officials have also an interest to play in this scheme of having workers go abroad because they send back remittances and so on.
The other thing to think is that there's formal employment agencies or recruitment agencies, and then there's a whole series of levels of facilitators to access this system or to facilitate certain stages of this process in getting the right documentation, making sure you've got a passport, having a health certificate clearances. So there's that complicated system has to be navigated, and people provide services in order to help migrants navigate that system in order to access that job market. And so that's partly where it comes from. In Hong Kong, the worker in law is only meant to pay 10% of their first month's wages. That's by law what employment agencies are allowed to charge. In practice, that is flouted, and there's been some recent research on it, but there's all the kinds of different ways that various different kind of levels of broker and informal mediators of the process can kind of use the system to create a
visa. They need medical certificates, they need government certificates. All these have costs. So these illegal agencies, they cover the cost without telling the migrants how much the cost really is. So they cover it, and sometimes when, for example, one migrant, he or she did not pass medical certification, so these agencies, they need to find illegal means, like forgery or whatever it is, to make sure this person leaves the country. And the cost will be much higher, of course. All this cost will be burdened to the migrants. That's why they need to sell their houses, their whatever they have, just to go abroad. And this problem is multiplied by the fact that there are so many corrupt government officials who facilitate all these documents. So that is why it's important for everyone to understand that documentations that, I mean, how can a Taiwanese agency in Taiwan understood whether the documents are legit or fake? That's why it's important for I think for us, for all of us, to find a way to verify the documents. It has to be legit, and the cost has to be transparent to the migrants.